see dope people.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Dope People, where we talk to dope people. I am your host, Hayden Green, Brooklyn's favorite polymath. And on this show, we like to talk to people who I consider to be dope. Now, you didn't grow up in the 80s or the 70s or even the 90s. You might not know the term dope, and that simply refers to something that's amazing, awesome, really interesting. And so all of the people that'll be on this show really are people who I think have done some really interesting or are doing some really interesting things. Today, my guest is Juan Perez, and a really good friend of mine. Juan, welcome to Dope People. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's
really
my pleasure.
Excited. Really excited to be here.
See, everybody, this is Juan's excited face. You don't get to see it very often.
Definitely.
So, Juan, I love to start off the show just to get a sense of, a rubric for what people consider to be dope. And who is the dopest person that you know, whether you've or the dopest person that you've ever met? Who's the person, done something amazing or just somebody that you consider to be dope?
Well, you said what is dope, and you said the '80s, '70s, '90s. I think dope is actually pretty relevant today. I think maybe the kids don't use it as much, but I think it's still a word that has significance. I don't
That's
think
because I've
we're
been
out of
bringing it
it.
back.
You've been bringing it back. I got it. Yeah. So Hayden is responsible for dope being dope. I think dope is a really dope word. I use it all the time. So I'm glad that that is the topic of this discussion. Um, I actually, and I'm really excited to have this conversation because I spend a lot of time thinking about sort of what are inspirational dope people in my life. And I when you asked me to join you, obviously a million thoughts went through my head, quite a few people, and I realized very quickly that I needed to choose a woman, and not just any woman, but a Black woman, because I think Black women are really dope.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we are as Black men, where we are without Black women. And be quite honest with you, I don't think we are where we are in this country without the not only the assistance but the push, the dopeness of Black women. And I think there is no doper person. Is that doper? Can we say doper?
We'll add it to the lexicon.
Okay. There is no more dope person than none other than Selena Montgomery, who we may not be as familiar with. Also, that is the pen name of one Stacey Abrams, and most people do not know Stacey Abrams as an author. She has written, I believe, 8 romantic fiction novels, amongst many other things that she's done. Most people are just familiar with the work that she's done, either running for governor of Georgia or her work subsequent to that, and making sure that we secure voting rights in this country. But she's a really dope individual, well traveled, well read. She's an attorney, not just a political powerhouse, but she's a tax attorney. She was a Georgia State House of Representatives, a member of the House of Representatives. I mean, you can go on and on about Stacey Abrams. I think one of the things that I find to be so dope about her is, especially now, and I don't know when this is going to air. We're in the midst of an election cycle, and we have a very very powerful black woman on the ticket, and regardless of politics, right? I don't think we get to this point without Stacey Abrams.
This is very true.
You
And for the record, we are always in an election cycle.
in some way, shape, or form, we are always in an election cycle. And one of the things I find really, really dope about Stacey Abrams is she's say what you want about the Republican, the Democrat party, the two party system. She transcends the way in which she communicates with people. She makes things very, very plain, in a way that is sophisticated enough to deal with very complex and layered, nuanced issues, but communicates them in a way that even the most perhaps ill-informed can understand and really understand and be motivated by her words. Stacey Abrams, in particular, is just she will be one of those individuals that will be she in the history books.
Yeah, definitely.
Much unfortunately appreciated much more once she's gone, than she is. But to be honest with you, that's the unfortunate thing about our black women.
Listen,
We only appreciate them when after they've completed the work.
well, hopefully platforms like this one and keeping conversations about things that are happening in real time will make sure that she gets her roses and her flowers as she is still above ground.
Absolutely.
But that's a dope choice. Yes, Stacey Abrams, without doubt, is an absolutely dope choice. Well, Juan, let me tell you why I consider you to be a dope person.
Okay.
Um,
I'm bracing here.
I know hearing it from me it could go a lot of different ways. So I'm wearing my Free-ish T-shirt, right? And Free-ish and Juneteenth are kind of a good example of the way that I see your mind working. Um, you and I are fraternity brothers, and you come from a chapter that's called the Mau Mau chapter. Um, am I correct?
The Black Panther chapter, but Mau Mau chapter is actually very, very close to our chapter. But go on, I'm
But
listening.
yes, the Black Panther chapter, right? And so the thing about the thing about your chapter and the thing about the brothers that come out of your chapter and you in particular is that you are unwavering in your the way that we want black people to represent themselves and unwavering in what we are going to accept in society and how we go about it. And so there are there are people who do this and get labeled as militant. Sometimes you get labeled as angry, but we all know that you're not always angry. But
Not always, not always.
the thing that I find dope about you is that there is an unrelenting desire for us to be the best that we can possibly be, and not to rest on our laurels, and to call people out when we're not when we're not giving 100. Um, and sometimes people do that and immediately get vilified. It's like, I don't want to talk to that person anymore because they're always yelling at us. But I think that people seek you out because they know that at the end of the day, you're going to keep it 100. You're going to keep it a buck, and it is not going to be about like needling people or poking up at people, but just making sure it's like, listen, we got to do this better. We got to be the best people that we possibly can be, and you do it in such a fashion that ingratiates you to people and allows for you to be consistently part of these conversations. So I think that that is a dope skill. It is not easy to do, to keep on challenging people without having people feel like I don't want to talk to I don't want to talk to this person because they're always going to challenge me. When you are constantly invited to those conversations and are constantly involved in planning of a number of different things, even though you hold people to a higher standard, I think it's a dope skill, and that is the thing that I always admire about you.
Hmm, thank you. Um, I think it's dope that you appreciate that about me. I think I think it can go both ways, right?
Hmm.
I am the type of person that I've always, my mother has always instilled in me that you want people to feel a way about you, right? And whether that's good, that's bad, you want them to have some level of an opinion about you. I think it's when people don't really have an opinion about you. I think that's not exactly what you want. And I think like with many things, it's a testament to our upbringing. My family. My mother was a Black Panther, a member of the Black Panther Party. My father was a young lord, and they were in a struggle, and I seen that, and the one thing that they've always instilled in me, and even my chapter, coming up was, hey, be authentic. Don't try and be somebody that you're not, and be the best version of yourself, whatever that is and whatever that means. So, not something I intend to highlight about me, but I appreciate that I don't think anybody's ever told me that. So, thank you, thank you.
Well, I'm glad you were able to hear it. Uh, and it's really interesting that you always talk about that you talk about like somebody needs to feel something about you. And one of the greatest things that I ever learned was that the opposite of love or hate, the opposite of love is not hate. The
Hate.
opposite of the opposite of love is ambivalence, right? So when people don't love and hate are the same side of two different sides of the same coin. The opposite of love, though, is when somebody could care less about whether or not you are there, right? And just really being able to have an influence on people and making sure that they feel your presence once you've been there. That's the real goal. Well,
Absolutely.
listen, Juan, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to hear what makes you dope in your own eyes. All right, so we'll be right back. And we are back with dope people, and my dope person today is Juan Perez. And so we're at the stage where we are now gonna. I now want to know, Juan, why do you consider yourself to be dope? And when I say this, it could be a one-time thing where it's like, oh, I once tutored somebody just before they went into the Scripps spelling bee championship, or it could be something I do on a regular basis, like I go every Saturday and I read to children in the library. But what makes you dope? What's the dope thing that you've done or continue to do?
Yeah, this is tough for me. Talking about myself is not the easiest thing for me to do. I think one of the I guess I wouldn't call it a skill, but maybe the qualities about myself that I consider, that I really take pride in, is not being lazy. And it's I don't know what the opposite of lazy is, just like the opposite of love. But I don't I've thought about that many times, but I think, um, I really take pride in, I won't even say hard work, because I think there's a concept of working hard and working smart. But I think cutting corners without a strategy is not something, I subscribe to, and I take pride in that. I think as I've gotten older, things like exercise have become more and more important to me, and I try and inspire through that. You and I talked about biking during the summer. Accountability is huge, and that's one of the reasons why I like the app Strava. Right, it holds me accountable
Yeah.
for my running, and at the same time, I see others who are either friends or folks I don't even know, but are on the app, who are out there doing their runs, out there, on their bike, and it holds me accountable, because I say, you know what, even though I'm not feeling great, I got to do this. I got to put in the work. Not just because I'm looking or seeking some sort of goal, but because I want to stay healthy. And that's just one example of those things. I think, I've really been, especially as I've gotten older, it's committed myself to taking one step at a time, being consistent. Our fraternity brother Jason Minnis, a really dope person. I actually thought about selecting him as a dope, my dope person, as well. He's really inspired me in that way. Very, very consistent, and it's about each and every day, looking at it as if it's your last. And I don't ever get to that point, but that's definitely the goal, is to live each day like it is your last.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit Strava up and see if they can sponsor this episode.
I know I shouldn't have mentioned
Giving them all kind of free
as a
advertising.
marketer. I never should have mentioned the brand. My bad.
But I think that is absolutely really dope about you. You are a shark. You keep moving, and I do see that, and that energy is inspirational. There are a couple of brothers, both Sigmas, but just in general, who I look around and I'm like, that cat is always on something, is always moving, and it is inspirational because they're like, well, what am I doing, right? Like, sometimes you look at, we're in the midst of the Olympics at the time of taping, and sometimes you look at the people in the Olympics and I was like, oh my God, like, what am I doing with my life? Look at these people.
Right.
They, there's
Exactly.
and a quick story. There's a woman that just won a gold medal for the road race in Paris, and she picked up biking 7 years ago. And it's like,
As a
oh,
hobby in Central Park.
in
In
Central
Central
Park, and
Park.
I'm like,
Yep.
wait a minute.
Yep.
All things being equal, that could have been me, right? So,
And what's wild about that story too is she came to Paris, and she won a second gold medal in the pursuit, and she really only did that race, that she won the initial gold medal, because she could.
right. Somebody gave up their spot because they didn't feel like racing, and I was like, "You do it," and that woman came out with a whole gold medal. So,
Gold.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So watching people doing things and being active, even if you're not connected with them, is really an inspiration, because you look around and it's like, well, listen, I need to get on my game because these people are killing it, and they don't have anything that much more than I do, right? So. Well, listen, I want to thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna end the show like we always do with a dope moment, and my dope moment today is about the Oscars. And I wanted to really showcase the first Black man to ever be nominated for a full feature film as a director. Do you know who it is? I wonder if you know who it is. Can you take a guess?
Nominated. Oof.
And he was 24 years old.
As a director.
As a director. I'll put you out of your misery. It was John
John
Singletary.
Singleton.
Yeah, John Singleton for Boys in the Hood.
Sound John Singletary. Yeah.
Yep, John Singleton for Boys in the Hood. And so he was nominated at the age of 24 in 1996, I believe it was, for Boys in the Hood. And it was the first time that a Black man was nominated for a director role. So, we've come a long way since then. So, again, I think that's a dope moment. And Juan, I want to thank you for being a dope person and coming on the show. If you or anybody if you're watching this, please subscribe and share. And if you know anyone who it should be on the show, who you think is a dope person, please get in contact with us and we'll get them on. Again, thank you so much. And until the next time, go forth and be dope. Thank you, y'all.